Hi everyone, I am Tara and I'd like to welcome you all back to my channel, Spirit Mother Teachings of Going Within. What I'm going to talk about now is abuse and the effects that it has on us, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and sexually, because there are multitude different types of abuse, and I've been through abuse myself, not only being abused by others, but also by abusing myself, my own body, through the things that I've done. And the things that we end up doing usually stems from abuse. We feel very disconnected. I'm kind of hesitant because it is a very touchy subject for a lot of people, including myself, because, like I said, I've gone through the different things myself. Just get down. It's going to be emotional for myself because I'm going to end up feeling myself connecting with other people who are watching this, who are experiencing things themselves. At a young age, it started happening to me. I have a part of me that kind of wants to shut it down, or there's a part of an aspect that is trying to shut it down because it can be intense and overwhelming. And there's other aspects of it that don't really want to get it out there because it's like, well, this is private. It's like, okay. There's a new movie that come out, and I've been asked if I've seen it yet, and I want to go see it. And I know it's going to be hard for me to go watch it. It's called Sound of Freedom. It's about child trafficking, human trafficking. Whew. And I know I have friends who have gone through it. And I'm going to be on. At one point, I thought, like, I even had thought about doing it myself because it was like, okay, I need money. I was raped at a very young age. And it was held in. And when it did come forth, the person got charged, but they only got 2 years probation, had to see a psychiatrist. And then a few years later, they went and they done it to somebody else. And the person that it happened to, their parents kind of had some nasty things to say about me and the situation itself until it happened to their child. I told a couple people after it happened, because what happened is, and I remember it, and that's what happens. We do remember it, and eventually, like, we do need to let it go, but it's being able to see it and and dealing with it, and it's really hard to deal with it. It wasn't until a couple years ago that I actually dealt with it. I went to psychologists and therapists and took medication and what have you. And I'm going to be honest, because of it, I became very promiscuous. And I didn't care who I hurt sometimes, because it was the thinking of, well, people hurt me, so why can't I hurt them? And I'm connected with somebody right now that's feeling it. I became promiscuous, and parts of me was in the mentality of like, give it to them before they take it. I began drinking a lot. It was kind of wanting to bury it. And then whenever I got into a relationship, the mentality of thinking about that relationship was that the person was going to become the same way, whether it was a physical, in the violent, sexual, any kind of abuse is violent. And it's very scary. And if you know somebody who's being abused, you do everything in your power to try and help them get out of there. If they're coming to you and they're asking for help, do everything in your power to help them. Because I am going to say it, and some will disagree with this, but if somebody comes to you who's being abused and they're asking for your help and you're turning them away, in ways, you're no better than an abuser. And some may not like what I just said, and that is totally fine. But it's true. Because you know it's happening, but you're not helping that person to get out of it. And sometimes it does. It's like a back and forth, because you think that the person thinks that they love this person. Or because they're trapped. And sometimes we help, or they help. And yes, we need to admit that we truly need the help and we need to step out. And sometimes we do keep going back, because it's something we learned. It's something that we feel is normal sometimes. It's gotten in the middle of a lot of relationships, because it plays on the psyche a lot. And there's some aspects of us, we do feel like, okay, this next person is going to be like that. Well, it's going to be like that sometimes, because we keep feeling that that's what it is, but it's not. I know I've had a lot of relationships that I just didn't want to be in, because there were similarities. It was 2 years ago where I actually, about 2 years ago, when I actually allowed myself to release it. And we get in our own way, because we keep eating, no matter, we test people. And when we're testing people, we can be pushing them away, because we're not opening ourselves up to real love when somebody actually has love for us. And sometimes we get in relationships, and I Det ska hon... Nej. Oh, wow. I've actually had visions of what's happened to other people. I actually took this one woman to where she had been living. They got her to show me where her son was living now. And this was where she was at. And what ended up happening as we were getting close, I was feeling her. And prior to that, I had dreams, right? And when I was getting closer, and I'm driving and I'm having this happening to me. And we get to the house and I just got to stop. Like I go up a little further and I got to stop because, and when I stopped, I explained to her, like, this is what this place looks like inside. And I said that there was a trailer. And this is what the trailer looked like and stuff. And this is what the house looked like inside. And I was describing the inside of a place that I had never seen because I was an aspect of her. It was like I was there. And then I seen another vision where it was like it was like a little kid was put in a room. The kid seen a couple men come in to their mother, and they were put in a room. They could hear their mother screaming, but they're locked in a room. You have a hard time getting close physically, mentally, and emotionally with people, and we are always comparing them to others. It's like you have the 3 month where things seem to be going great, but then it's like your mental state switches because you start seeing a couple I'm okay rolling. You start seeing a couple traits, but it's not always what it seems. I know because I've been through it, and I've had good relationships where I've destroyed them. And I've done a lot of the inner work to let go. Sometimes I have flashbacks for a second. Sometimes when I was having intercourse with my partner, I'd have a flashback. And then sometimes I would freak out. It's like, get off, get off, get off. And when we have a good relationship where there is actual affection, real affection, where there's true intimacy, like people think that intimacy it's all about sex. Well, the intimacy is being close with somebody, cuddling with them, wrapping your arms around somebody and just giving them a kiss on the forehead, or just sitting close together with your arm around one another, watching a beautiful movie. We get the 3 month, and then we start saying that we're having a hard time. We're having a hard time because it's not something we're used to. So we start pushing it away. So it can become very unhealthy relationships. I was in detox myself 2 or 3 times. And when you go through abuse, that can happen. Like an abused person can become an abuser themselves. Someone can become very promiscuous. And others, we can go inside of ourselves. And then we have a hate on for everyone. Because we start thinking that everybody is the same way. And that's where it starts destroying relationships. Like I know there when we had COVID. Or whatever it was. And we were all locked in. And we're not going outside to anywhere. But they had liquor stores open. You could always get your liquor. But alcohol has a lot to do with abuse. A lot. People are stuck in these homes with the abuse and they can't get out. Fear. We feel like, well, this is normal because this is all I know. Maybe you grew up in an abusive home, so it seems normal. And then we don't want to ask for help because we're afraid to ask for help because maybe we have and we got turned away by one person or another. And then we feel that we have to do everything on our own. Because we felt like we were doing it all alone. We don't want to tell people sometimes what's happening because we feel shame. And then sometimes when we do tell people, oh, well, it's not that bad, or you'd leave. That's why it's called abuse. Because people have trouble leaving it. And when they do ask for help, it takes a lot. And some people, they'll say, well, just live there. Go back. We're supposed to be standing up for one another and helping each other. And a person who's being abused, it's hard enough for them to come forward. It's hard on a family. Some people don't believe it. Could be going on like with your children. It could be going on right under your nose and you're not even knowing it because you think, well, it can't happen to my child. Or it can't happen to me. The Sound of Freedom, I haven't seen it yet. And a part of me wants to see it to understand a little more. Of like, mine was like, sometimes. It's about understanding what happens with somebody who is going through it constantly. Because it becomes a very vicious circle and it's very difficult to get out of. So when people say, well, just leave, it's not that easy. Because what ends up happening is at the beginning, things can seem just great. And then that's when the abuse starts. Because they feel like they have you under thumb. I was in my first real relationship. There was a lot of, it was more of a mental abuse, but there was things that was happening. And I'd leave, but I'd keep going back. And what we need to start doing is empowering ourselves, because they make you afraid. It's to cause fear in you so that you'll feel like you're weak and that you can't defend yourself, but you can't. I had one woman where I took her back. I sat with her and I held her hands and I went back with her. It was through the mind. It was mentally dealing with it through the mind, whether the person's there or not. Because when we continue, after we get free of it, if we continue to feel ourselves as a victim, then they still have control and power over you. Kaya na, disikato dai sore. Deskalando koreano koreyay. Because when you're like, for years after I got out of the abusive relationship, I was still enduring the abuse, and it was a lot of mental abuse. Mental abuse is really hard to fight, and all abuse comes back to a mental abuse. Bruises heal, and you can punch back. When you're in a situation where it's constant verbal, telling you you're useless, you're nothing, you're this, you're that. That's a constant abuse. And that's the abuse that most people are dealing with in the end. Our bruises heal, but the scars on the inside, that's the part that keeps us in that state. And I've been going in a lot to, it's like releasing it and saying, you have no power over me. My son did get taken because I used a Ouija board, and woo, I became enlightened, but didn't know that that's what was happening. So my son got taken from me. So and when he got taken from me, I had to endure more abuse. Not only from the person who was my abuser that took the child, but from a system, a court system, a justice system, and a medical system. And the bully of all bullies. Because it was like, I got control. You want to seize him? You're going to do as I say. Or I can keep him from you. And that happened. The legal system, they're not supposed to use your mental status, or your marital status, or your child status. They're not supposed to be allowed to use that against you, but they do. And I worked in family law, so I've seen it there too, not only from experiencing it. So you get people who are afraid. Like, even though they know that they got to do something about it, we're afraid. Because it's like, this person's got control over me because they're in a higher authority, or like they're threatening to take my child from me if I don't do what if I don't do what they want. It's still that aspect of the control. It's an abuse. And they use a fear tactic. Whether you're male or female, they use that fear tactic, especially if you have children. They use that fear tactic. Like, if you don't do as I say, I'm going to take your kids from you. So we don't go and do the right thing. When they say jump, we say how high. I know, because at the beginning of it, when I lost custody of my son, that's how I was. It was like, oh my gosh. He's not going to let me see him. He's not going to let me. And he wasn't letting me see him. And the court system, they weren't doing anything about it. Why have these things in place if you're not going to do anything about it? That's the same as when the person got charged. They got 2 years probation, had to see a psychiatrist, and a few years later, they did it to somebody else. And this is part of why I want to go see Sound of Freedom, to find out what people who are actually trying to help these children, what they do to help them. Because we're supposed to be standing up for each other, with each other, and helping one another get out of situations like that. And sometimes, time and time again, you got to take somebody and you just got to drag them out. And when you drag them out, teach them how to empower themselves, so that doesn't have control anymore. I was 47. Before I realized and took my power back. I just got asked if I'm in a relationship. No, because I'm not trying to get in a relationship right now, because right now the relationship I want to work on is a relationship with myself. Ishkam. Porque tu ia sareto ai. But if someone is in a relationship and they have a loving, caring person who is willing to, who shows the affection, good affection, wants to cuddle and be close. If we're in a relationship with somebody like that and we keep pushing them away, we need to ask ourselves, why are we pushing them away? It's the relationship you want, because we may feel like this is all I know, and this person is going to drive this person away. Well, it ends up that it's only happening because we're allowing it. Why do we change after 3 months in the relationship? I just had somebody say, because you get comfortable. Well, if there's affection at the beginning, and why should it only last 3 months? Like, why can't it just keep going and going and going? Because if you stop and you start depriving that person of the love and the affection that you were once giving them, then you need to let them go. Because it's not fair to them. They're a loving, affectionate person. Then they should be able to be with somebody that's a loving and caring individual. But you can be that individual if you really look at it and see, like, I was that way. So what changed? Did your past come back to haunt you? Did somebody try controlling a situation? Did they make you afraid and now you want to push that person away, but you don't want them to really go anywhere? We can't have somebody as a crutch because it's not fair to them. They don't need to work on themselves in that aspect. We do. It's not their fault we've become this way. They're not, if they're not the one that abused you, but it is us who keeps us in that. We keep ourselves in that state because we continue to allow someone else to have the power over us. See, and this would be a really complicating topic for me because I'm extremely close to it in many aspects. I've seen it myself. I've seen it from friends and family members where they've gone through abuse. I had somebody very close to me. I witnessed the person hitting this person with a coat hanger, a steel coat hanger. They were hitting them with it. And I grabbed them and I ushered them out the door. I threw them out the door. And the person that was getting hit with the coat hanger got mad at me. And then later that day, what ended up happening is the two of them ganged up on me. One held me forward while the other one was ripping hair out of my head. And when they let go, the guy sat in the chair and I went in the room. Someone's hearing this and crying. And when I come out, the guy was sitting right next to the step. He was the one that was holding me while the other person was pulling my hair. Ripping the hair right out of my head. It was on the floor. And I went up to him. He was right by stairs. I just wanted to push him down the stairs. And I looked at them. I said, don't ever lay another effing hand onto me again because you will go down the stairs. And I was going out the door. And as I was going out the door, someone was coming in. And they're like, what's wrong, Tara? What's wrong? And it was like, just get the F out of my way. I'm going to hurt them. I'm going to hurt them. Get out of my way. They wouldn't. So I was protecting somebody who was being abused. And then they both turned on me. So I know that it's hard to help someone sometimes. Not just helping yourself if you've been through abuse, but helping others. So I've seen it on the different spectrums. I even seen it in another relationship of somebody that's very close to me. Sometimes knives were even involved. Banging the head off a wall. The person was banging their head off a wall. Punching. They kept staying. And I know the feeling because I was there myself. So I know how people that are being abused feel. I may not have been physically beaten and battered, but I'm here to tell you, if that's happening to you, you stand your ass up and you just start walloping back. I'm not saying that fighting is the answer, but sometimes we just need to stand up to the bully. Nobody should be laying a hand on anybody physically, or like abusing anybody physically, mentally, emotionally, or spiritually, or like sexually, because you're scarring that person. And a lot of it comes from childhood. And then we become abusers ourselves. So it's a vicious circle. And some say, oh, well, no, not. Well, yes, I've seen somebody that was being abused and they become an abuser themselves. Because when we're going through it and then we have our kids, I know from experience, but I don't say to tell your children not to love that other person. Because they need to make that decision themselves. But you protect your kids. You protect yourself. And we need to get a court system that actually works for the people that it's happening to and not for the abusers. Because those abusers, they actually need help themselves. And every time they get away with doing it, then they're not getting the help. Because there was a seed planted in them, and I'm not making excuses for an abuser, because there is no excuse either way. But it does stem from their own experiences. And that's where the vicious circle comes in. And you say, like, there's good therapy, good therapists. But then there's the ones that's all about this. Take a pill. Take a pill. Oh, come back next week. Oh, and how'd that make you feel? Instead of working with the person to get to the very root and let them feel it. Express it, because they're holding it in their body. And then it's coming out in all different ways. It's pushing people away. We push away the ones that try to help us. And it becomes a martyr. And it's not easy to get out of abusive relationships. Even years later, you can still feel like you love the person, but it's sometimes we feel like we can help the person, but we're not the ones to be able to help them. When something like that's happening, you need to kind of step away and stop allowing them to have the power over you, because we give them the power, because we become in a fear state and a not worthy state, and the state of thinking, well, this is the way it is. No, it's not. I wouldn't get in a relationship in the aspects of being able to open myself up. I would keep myself closed off, and I would literally push people away. I had a block. Wouldn't open my heart. I just had the aspect that, like, you even get cheated on, and I was like, I didn't care if I did something with sometimes with somebody in a relationship because they had done it to me or somebody else had done it. I'd go get drunk and I'd be promiscuous, and then I'd hate myself for it the next day. Wouldn't so much be myself, it'd be the situation that I allowed myself to be in. Abuse is far from easy for anybody, even minor stuff. When you look right, you see it, but we turn away and we ignore it. Why? Would you really want somebody to ignore it if it were happening to you? Or would you want somebody to reach out and do everything that they could to try to help you? I know I went back years ago, like 98. I left in an abusive relationship. It was a lot of verbal, emotional abuse. And I left and I went to a place called the Barney House, a place for battered women, abused women, and children. And I was there and we were in a group meeting. And we were talking, and it become more of a male bashing, which I don't find that right, because women can abuse people too. Men abuse men, women abuse women, women abuse men, men abuse women. It doesn't matter your sex. You're no exception to the rule. And we were in group, and it was a bunch of women and were being abused and stuff like that, and they were male bashing men, and I don't agree with that, because not everybody is the same. Not all men are the same. Not all women are the same. And I piped up, and it was like, what places do they have for men who are being abused to go? Whoa. The room, because I'm open-minded. Like, I think in those terms, because I know it's not one over the other. And it's like you could have had a woman in there that was gay, and their female partner was abusing them. But the hatred and the disdain that I seen and felt in that room, and their response was, well, men don't come forward. Well, this is why. And I do believe that what's for one should be for the other. And some people may not like what I'm saying, but I have to, being a victim myself, but no longer a victim, because I am empowering myself and taking back my power and saying, screw you, you're not going to rule me no more. You're not going to rule my thoughts. You're not going to rule my feelings. I'm not going to be afraid of you no more. I am free of you. A lot of the time, it happens because we don't stand up for ourselves. But I'm here to tell you, you're not weak. The thing is, you are strong, and that's why they're doing it, because they're trying to weaken you, because they feel less than what they are. It's like a bully. It's like a coward. Oh, and sometimes we think like people closest to us aren't going to do it, but I'm hearing it. That's usually where it happens. It's the people that we least expect. And that's a lot of how they are able to get past it, because people say, well, that person wouldn't do that, or but yeah. And it can come from, it usually ends up being a vicious circle because it's happened to that person. Like I said, and there's no excuse for any abuse whatsoever. It's, we all need help. And I can feel like somebody just, it's like somebody, or maybe even aspect of me somewhere else, thinking like, how can you take the side of an abuser? I'm not taking sides, because I've been there myself. And I've actually witnessed stuff. And I've tried helping people. Sometimes it's easier to try helping other people than it is to be able to help yourself. Because we're afraid to help ourselves sometimes. And by helping ourselves, I'm talking about by asking for help. We feel stuck. But once you empower yourself and you see that you are not a victim, and if you got away, if you're gone, then you've empowered yourself. And the only reason why they keep trying to bully you, because we keep allowing it to happen. Instead of saying, hey, right here, make it a fair fight. Like I said, I'm not saying fighting is right, because laying a hand on anybody should never be happening. And you sure the heck shouldn't be turning on the person who's trying to help you. But we do. Because we think that we think or we feel like we're in love with that person. Or some of us stay because there's children. Some of us say because of the kids. Some of us, sometimes when we get out, we feel like we have to go back because the kids want it to happen. Even if it's not healthy, that a lot of the time the child doesn't know that it's not healthy. And most kids, they want their parents back together, no matter what. But we are to be teaching our children that this is not right. And when their children see it, then they become abusive themselves towards us. And that's their way of acting out. Because it's what they see, or it's what they're experiencing when you're not there. They see somebody else doing it, so they figure, oh, well, I guess if they're doing it, I'm allowed to do it too. But it's our duty to teach them differently. To see it when it's happening. I see stuff, and I've told, like, I've seen it, and I like, wait a minute, ain't that what you said that this person does to you? Well, they're doing it to you. So they're kind of becoming that person. So that's when you learn to stop it. I don't like having mental health involved a lot of the time, because from experiences that I've gone through, they've not helped. What's helped me is I got connected with somebody on YouTube, watching them on YouTube, and actually hearing them and understanding. And the part about Nikola Tesla, the frequencies actually helped me to heal physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and sexually. For my heart. For me to start seeing stuff for what it is, and stop, like 2 years ago, I had somebody who was really bullying me, and I wouldn't say anything. It was just like I was I was putting up with their ignorance and their asshole bitching behavior. And I would go somewhere and I would cry because I felt weak, but I wasn't weak. And then I had someone come along, and it's like, kind of making me see that, wait, stop allowing this person to do this to you, and start standing up and saying, hey, this is what you're doing. I'm not going to let you do this no more. I'm not going to wither down and allow you to treat me like I'm a piece of crap, when I know that I deserve so much more appreciation, so much more respect than what somebody's giving me. So it's like, I'm going to stand up to the bully. Because if the bully's picking on you, they're a coward. Especially when they're thinking that you are weaker than them. That makes them a coward, because they pick on people weaker. And it's not throwing shade. It's putting a truth out there. That this is where you get the bullies from. They stem from a coward that doesn't stand up to the people they should be standing up to. And then they go and they pick on the people that they think are weaker than them. Because somebody picked on them. abused them. See the circle? And we put them in these places, even ourselves, the abused ones. We put them in these, we put them places, but we don't do anything to help them. When you go into a psychiatric unit, there's nothing. Here, go watch TV. And most of the time it's got news on or violent shit. Nothing to help you. Take a pill. Oh, go lay in your room for a while. We just want your money. We don't want to really help you. Because if we help you, then we got no clients anymore. And when I do this and stuff like that, it's to clear the energy. It's to move the negative, stagnant energy that can build up inside. And when I, like right now, I have a frequency on. I listen to the frequencies because it actually helps me to relax and look at the bigger picture, look at everything so that I can move it and say, okay, like, I don't need this. We can actually go inside mentally and deal with our own traumas because you confront it in the mind. Because they keep it all in the mind. So you can go in there and you can have that conversation. You can have that empowerment within you. When I took that girl back, what I did was I held her hands and I said, okay, we're going to go back to the moment in time when your power was taken from you. And I want you to do something differently to take that power back. Discount. Right now, what I'm experiencing is a movement. It's like in the right here, and it's like it feels like an explosion. And I've taken people back to when they first felt like they lost their power. When they became and started feeling like they were weaker than what they were. I'm still dealing with some of the stuff that I've gone through, and I deal with it. I work through it in the mind because it's like I'm putting myself with that person and I'm actually seeing it and feeling it. It's like a self-hypnosis to go back and deal with it. And I meditate. I don't sit there and go om like that. I listen to the frequencies and I just put myself in my heart and I allow myself to feel it, to work through it. Sometimes I'll still have like a flashback of something, but then I quickly take my power back. When it happened to me when I was 9, I remember what happened. I was at the person's house and we're sitting there and we were watching the show Hunter. And the guy was laying on the couch and I was sitting on his side. because he was babysitting. And then all of a sudden, I was on the floor, but two people had taken me because there was no inside toilet. So the bathroom was a potty, a little bucket in the room. A couple people followed me and they tried touching me and what have you. And then they left. I remember what I was wearing too. And this person got me on the floor, and got on top of me. And I got loose. I fought back. And there was another person there with me, younger than me. And they were in the bedroom sleeping. And I ran in and I grabbed them. So, come on, get up, get up. The guy was standing behind me and masturbating while I was getting this person up. We ran out to the door. It was running out to the door. The guy looked at me and said, "Don't you tell anyone or else." So I ended up telling two people. And I said, "Don't tell mom and dad. Don't tell mom and dad." So for a year, because I didn't tell, and nobody told, the same person was coming to our house. And they were doing things to me under the table while my parents were in the living room. And then finally one day, person got caught for something, and then they ended up telling my parents. And then that's when they were going to do something, like they were going to really hurt the person, and somebody come running over and so they let the police deal with it. And that's when they got 2 years probation and had to see a psychiatrist. So our laws need to be way stricter, because when there's no penalty and there's no healing and nothing like that, they go out and they do it again. Because, it was a slap on the wrist. I never got nothing for it. And didn't even get help. And I got somebody saying that some people can't get help. That those are the people that need to be placed in a home where they're not allowed around children. If they're abused, it's just stuff like that. But everybody, it's like, I'm not saying reward them. I'm saying have them in a place where there's actual therapy, true therapy, to get to the bottom of where their steed stemmed from. Because I'm still working on pulling the seeds out of me. And I was telling somebody today, like like with regards to Jesus and that, Jesus was doing the same thing, pulling it out. And then you become a healer, a self-healer. And it's the part of empowering yourself and taking your power back and not allowing them to continue to have power over you, because you are in control of yourself. You're in power of yourself. Hey, Rolita, siya Kikira pala yata. Okay? I know you can do it. If I can do it, even because we've already done it. And I can help as best as I can to teach you how to go within yourself and empower yourself and allow things to go by, because the more you keep holding on to it, they say, oh, well, like, your experiences are what makes you who you are today. Yeah, they sure are. They can also hold you back if you don't let go of them. They can keep you from experiencing a lot of good things, a lot of good relationships, because when you think that every relationship is bad, that's the only relationship we go for. I know from experience because I've done it. Kept following it. And now I know I deserve way, like, I don't deserve to be abused. I don't deserve to be mistreated or treated like I'm a piece of crap or worthless. And nor do you. And the vicious circle needs to stop. And the vicious circle stops with ourselves, by empowering ourselves, because when we empower ourselves, we empower our younger self. We empower our older self. And by empowering ourselves, we're actually empowering other people. Especially when you put your story out there of what you've gone through and what you've accomplished to get through it. And it's the more we hold on to something, the more it festers. And we can't move forward. We just remain stuck. And you don't want to be 47 years old, still stuck. Because it leaves a lot of your life gone. I'm not a victim. I may have been a victim at that time, but I'm not a victim anymore. I'm a survivor. And so are you. And you can take your power back. And it all starts with being big, bold, and brave. Most importantly, it is being yourself too. Your higher self. Take no shit, but make the shift. The shift is to change. I know that you can do it. And the universe knows you can do it. And we are here. We can hear your prayers. We can feel you. And we know that you can empower yourself and take control back of yourself. And don't let the way that somebody else tries to make you feel, don't let it rule you. Because you're missing out on a lot of good things, good relationships, healthy relationships. Don't push the healthy relationships away anymore. Stop being centered here. and take the blinders off so you can see it all. I've had things happen. It's mostly sexual. Things happen more than once. Had it happen when I was 13. And I didn't say anything then. And then, like, I don't know, back in around 2010 or thereabouts, I found out that the person was being charged. Same thing. I was his babysitter. I was babysitting for him. But I thought it was his kid. But he was the one that was supposed to be babysitting. And then he got me to babysit. And then he come home. And that was the same thing. This young girl was babysitting his child, this time his child and his wife's child. And his wife didn't know that he was molesting the babysitter while she wasn't home. And then I went to a cop and I told him, and I even pointed out a picture, but because mine was so long before, there was nothing I could do. And they let him go. I'm talking about it, so there's a spirit of that doesn't like it. So empower yourself. And I may not have a university college degree that says that I can help someone get through their traumas and stuff. But I can do just as well as a psychologist that paid to go to school. Because I have experienced this like a group. Giving each other different techniques that worked for you or I to get through it. It's like working together as one. We are the angels. And so are you. We're all from up there. And we all feel you in here. We all hear you. Not only here, but here. And you will heal. We just need to get out of our own way and see it for what it is. Se puleto purica picos come sia. Se esculetare magriaturietoi. I'm going to leave you with that. May have made sense, it may not have. We take what we need, we take what works, we take what resonates. But I want you to take the part of empowering yourself. Take your power back. Say no. Don't be afraid to say no. Because the word no is a part of bringing bringing your power back to you. If you don't want to do something, or you don't want to experience, say no. If you don't want to. Yeah, sometimes we say no to our kids, and then other systems say, "Oh, well, you shouldn't say no to your kids." It hurts. No, it doesn't. It's teaching them boundaries. Like if you say, "Okay, they want to play with fire," and you say no, what like, "Oh, we're going to take it." No, you're not going to take my kid because I told my kid that they couldn't play with fire. Okay? So, like I said, be big, bold, brave. Most importantly, be yourself. Be kind to yourself and others. Never give up and keep going. And in the meantime, I'm sending you all much love, light, many blessings, and most importantly, very good health to anyone and everyone wanting and willing and able and ready to accept it. Empower yourself. Be strong. Stand your ground. Stand up. Take no shift, but make the shift. The shift is the change, and you are your change. Show your children how to empower themselves so that it doesn't happen to them, so that they don't become that abuser themselves. I love you all. I'm wishing you all a great weekend. And I know that it's hard sometimes, but like I said, I know you can do it. Have a great weekend. Love you all.